Hello, are you in the little box? Hare Krishna. Today is 3rd September, 2022, Saturday, 10:46 a.m. And we are doing some more recording for this effort, Diary of a Traveling Creature. Here's Traveling Creature. Yeah. Hello. Okay. Yeah. Tom Brown. Yeah. And so this is of course some effort to consolidate all the different educational programs we have been involved in, leading, following for maybe 20, 30, 40 years. And we had impetus from people like Radhika Ramandas, Professor Ravi Gupta, and one Jungian psychologist in Mexico, Sven Donor, many people. And it's a good idea. Everybody should do this. You should stop at different times in your natural life cycle and consolidate things. What is important, what is non-essential, what is causing us impediments, holding us back, what can we adopt to move forward, what is our mission, what is our goal, how do we achieve that. So these are called Diary of a Traveling Creature. And it's been a very integrated part of our educational efforts, learning, teaching. And it actually started when we saw a little book. We were in Berkeley, we mentioned this before. And then we met these characters, Tom, Monkey and Piggy. There's Monkey. He had different forms like that. Hello. Okay. Yeah. And Piggy. There's Piggy here. Okay. There he goes. Hello. Okay. So they come from the big Chinese classic, Journey to the West. And it's essential part, it's an iconographic part of what is Chinese identity, on what basis should we think about things, understand things. It's the Buddhi perspective, Bhava, Buddhi. And so then Monkey, who is going on here, who represents the mind, he saw Indradumna Swami had a thing called Diary of a Traveling Preacher. And that was very nice. It describes his traveling and preaching activities. So the Monkey decided he wanted to start his Diary of a Traveling Creature. Okay. And Piggy said it should be Diarrhea of a Traveling Creature. They have some conflict. So anyway, since then, we've been developing the use of diaries. And of course, an integrated part of all of our work is Carl Jung and his efforts. Prabhupada said of all the Western philosophers, he made the most sense, And so, of course, Jung was very, very involved in using diaries for self-realization. So it's a very nice area in general, I think, very integrated with Krishna consciousness. And we feel it's like, something a lot of people might like to take advantage of this. We're by no means, very, very expert at these things. We have some good abilities. We've been given evaluation by some pretty critical, qualified people in terms of PowerPoint and different media. So everybody has different kinds of mode of communication, different media that's natural for them. And for us, this kind of media is very natural, communicating. Other people, just very verbal, And ourselves, we like to plan things, lay them out and communicate them. And then later on, PowerPoint and things like that, you can use it in different situations as a basis for improvising your content. So some people this will be very very useful. Some people will be some use, and some people will be no use. We can accept that. Yeah. So how to do these kind of graphic arts and stuff, what tools to use. We have looked on the YouTube and other places for tutorials. And one thing that's very common in many things is that you need a teacher who has the same mentality as you do, the same perspective as much as possible. And so there are many, many tutorials on the YouTube which go right away into very sophisticated uses of color and very, very sophisticated drawing styles to the point of realism with shading and everything else, and take days to do things and so on. So our interest is more in like simplistic drawings, to illustrate ideas and points like that. And so you probably, like many people, you take things from many different people, with their blessings even, and try and develop your own style and nature. Yes, it's transcendental reality. We all have our own nature of communicating, glorifying, illuminating Krishna. One of the people who has influenced us the most is Alfonso Dunn, Alfonso, Alfonso Dunn. He also goes into very advanced techniques, but his basic techniques, and hard to find anybody better who goes into explaining many basic principles like that. And also another topic besides is learning to draw. Another topic you can look for is elements of design. Elements of design. And then they go into the basic principles of layout and how things influence each other. So many, many nice things to learn, to study. The gopis, one is Indulekha, and Lekha means to write. So like the moon. We have some flies here joining us for the class. And Chitra Lekha, Chitra I think means very bright. So she's and many things like that in Vedic culture, of drawings and abilities like that. So whatever we're developing actually very well can be developed into our Siddha Swarup, our eternal form. So considering so many things, looking at the essence here, when an artist is talking about different supplies and different things like that, and said, well, basically, if you're an artist, really give it any kind of drawing instrument and anything to draw on, you'll start drawing. And that's a fact, Sticks and stones. Hanuman would pick up whatever rock or anything else was available and start using it to beat people. He would kill a horse and use that dead horse to beat other people with it. So this is part of our general philosophy, is that, whatever resources are available, learn to use those. And if you can carry some with you, okay. Of course, our particular dharma, and some of the people in the audience then, is sannyas, which means that you're traveling very lightly and moving and stuff. We've seen many times very good artists, they'll have very sophisticated technology with tables and T-squares and lighting and gloves to keep the oil off the pages, and so many very sophisticated tools, and so you can't always have these, and it restricts you from traveling and doing work in different situations like that, So what we like many times, because we're very miserly, we like taking like this regular A4, or 8.5 by 11 letter size paper, because it's everywhere. You just turn it over, and you can use the backside for drawing and not feel guilty about wasting new paper. And also you get print through the stuff from the previous work, can actually give you guidelines and stuff. Another nice size for working is Upadeshamrita. Here we have it, and it's 1/2 legal size. If you open it up here, this is actually this is how wide. This is the width. It's 1/4 legal size. So this is 8.5 wide, which is the same as a letter paper, but it's 14 long. It's like this is 8.5 by 11, but legal paper is 14. So this is very, very common in book size, which is 1/4 legal size, 4 1/4 by 5.5. And very nice. And of course, one very, very common ratio for artistic work is 16 by 9. I think right now we're filming in the ratio of 16 to 9, like that, which is very similar to this. A cell phone, for example, is also the same ratio. So these are, fundamental aesthetic principles which probably develop from cultural conditioning, but also some of them appear to be quite embedded. Our idea is that Krishna's form, Tribangala, is a very archetypal forms. So certain forms, you actually stimulate very deep things like that. And then we had, this is all, of course, being done with Uncle Gizmo here. Here's Uncle Gizmo, like that. In and out of focus, yeah. He's the science officer of the Anjana Sudha Academy. And we have our practical arts, how to do things. So, we had with Chaitanya Charitamrita Das, who's like an incarnation of Uncle Gizmo. With him, we had to cut a small clipboard that goes into our bag. So in the bag, we have Anjana Sudha Academy official bags here. Okay, there you go. You can get these at your local bag supplier. Yeah. And there, the Upadeshamrita fits inside, so you're always ready for book distribution. And this is nice. He made this up for us. Maybe in the future they'll be made out of aluminum. Yeah. And we put a little markings on here for inches, and then Hare Krishna and our web page. So this works very, very nice. There's a little clipboard. Yeah. And of course, if you go to the supply store, you'll see different kinds of paper with different textures. But also you'll see just the same thing, small sketchbooks. And it's a very important point. One nice artist making this point that, yes, you can have these small sketchbooks, but then usually you can't use the full motion of your body and arm. Like if you're working with big things, your whole body can be into this, There's a pivot in the shoulder, pivot in the elbow, pivot in the wrist, and pivot in the fingers, and so on. So these all make very natural flowing lines. So the small clipboards are good. We like them. Any place. So then we're just taking regular A4 paper. Here's one sheet. And then folding. And we like to fold it very crisp. This is kind of maybe almost a limit of our origami, is folding paper. We fold it in half. Very crisp, very exact. And then, put it on here and fold it again. Now it's 7 inches by, 4.5 if it's legal paper, but it's a little bit less than that, Yeah, if it's A4. And then we put the nice clips, these bulldog clips. Bulldog clips are very nice. I've seen a variety of people recommending these clipboards and so on. It's a very nice way to work. So here we have our clipboard, our bulldog clip. You can put it on there, yeah. And this gives us a nice distancing because we want to make a little bit of a border at the bottom. I guess you can see over here now, And then you just, preview your line. This is one fundamental principle. Preview your line in terms of movement, also in terms of psychologically, to kind of imagine it before what's going to happen. And we kind of learned this. One of our influences also was Gunnar Lind. He was, we worked for him for a while. He was a Swedish cabinet maker guy, kind of intellectual guy, nice working for him. He was functional alcoholic every night, little alcohol, but controlled. So we learned so many techniques from him. And one of them, the same thing, you just make your spacing there and just kind of watch it, and you can draw your line here. And this gives us a nice space, because now with this there, this actually becomes almost exactly 16 by 9. And then when you're drawing, as far as I know, almost all, maybe all artists, cartoon artists, work at about maybe 120%, 125%. Yeah. And so whatever you're doing is actually photo reduced a little bit. So take up the full space and then reduce it. Nice size here. This is using it horizontally is the same as you'll get on your television screen, computer screen. working vertically. Give us the same as the cell phone here. So it's how to work, what to do. It's nice to do something and stick with it for a while rather than jumping around. That's a problem we have. You may have too. In our initiation letter, Prabhupada criticized that for people. So in terms of a diary of a traveling creature, we had books for a while. You have these very nice solid books, and it's nice because everything is in one place. You can see what's happening. But in terms of carrying them with you and being able to write in different places, it doesn't work because you've got a big book to carry. And what we like the most were actually, they're called composition books. And those were very, very inexpensive in the United States. Then they had solid covers. But afterwards, you can just chop them at someplace like in the United States, there's Office Max. They go and chop them off and then run them through an auto feeder. And that way you can transfer them from paper media right into electronic media. Chop them. Then after that, have them spiral bound. So that was one very nice way to go from handwritten stuff. And those are pretty good. Even remembering them, I'm becoming greedy to have a composition book. And their size was also, again, fitting in very nicely. But in the end, what we settled on actually was, is working like this, and then we collect these for every 2 weeks. That's the way our scheduling, that maybe every 2 weeks we have print our copy dwaja and summarize everything into there. This is from the 27th, is here, 27th Saturday. And we skipped a page by mistake, so we squeezed it in, And this side over here to the left is, of course, can be cut off or something and using for extra work. Then we have Tuesday the 30th, Wednesday the 31st, Friday the 2nd, and Thursday the 1st and Friday the 2nd. So these are a long way from, actually when at the end of each fortnight we look at them and review them, and usually it's something maybe about like 20%, is actually something nice, good, and 80% is different things. For example, if journalism, very, very good psychologists, big psychologists said it's wonderful, of course, for self-realization, expressing your ideas. Prabhupada kept a journal. And then he says you don't even have to read them yourself. Just writing it down, of course, gives you so much, organization of your thoughts and ideas, and you're going ahead with your work like that. So a lot of these things, if I'm looking for one day that something happened, you go back, but you've got to kind of go through all the details. So maybe 80% of your journals are not publishable, or maybe if you become a very, very famous person, or you live in very, very interesting time, like Samuel Pepys. You may know him. They discovered his journals from Victorian or Pickwickian times of David Copperfield, the author. But he was incredible. He was in the naval department, I think, of the British ministry, and he kept very, very good diaries. And so when they discovered these, it was like an entire window on this very perceptive person on the culture, and even on the confidential political culture of the time. And so many things just were known in general, but he was describing in detail. So there's a value in these things. And also we have a tendency, our psychological problem is we think we're always not doing enough. So we push ourselves more than we can handle, and we become inefficient and sick and so many things. But by writing down everything we're doing, using like maybe bullet points, first make a little black dot, then later you can surround them with red. And then we look at it and we realize, it's enough. You did enough today, and other points you can do. So a very big area, and of course you have intelligence and Krishna is in your heart, and you'll develop your own style. So maybe we're just going to give some general principles that we've done and stimulate other people. So basically that's it. This is good for you. This is your service. Whenever you see a piece of paper, you want to fill it up. That's kind of like your motivation. So here we have a piece of paper. Okay, it's square. Okay, it doesn't have to be. It can be anything. And we got a pencil. Okay, you chop. the erasers wear out real fast on these things, so we just chop them off with a big clipper and then sharpen them on both ends. So we were traveling with a pencil, a red pen, and our black pen. Okay. And we very much like, there are many different kinds of pens, all kinds on the YouTube. The artists will talk about all the different kinds of pens, and there's a big variety. But we very much like Pilot G2, and we settled on 0.07 millimeters. They last a long time. They're gel pens. If you get the fiber tip pens, felt tip pens, you touch them, they feather. You just hold it there and the ink spreads out, so it's hard to write a fine line. Whereas with this, of course, you get, just a fine line like that. It doesn't feather at all. One we call it a disadvantage, but one nature of these things is they're not like India ink. They're not, I think it's called tint or dye. They're water-based. And so when you put water on them, you get some movement and stuff like that, which can be useful or not useful. Okay. So we like these Pilot pens. You can buy them. You buy them in boxes of 24 at one time, and they're cheap, and you can give them out as gifts to people. Okay. And then at one point we were, Hans Saduta came to Berkeley. One of his followers, Chakravarti Das, came. He was his commander-in-chief, for some time. So he was telling us that for Germans, there are two colors, black and white, and sometimes red. Okay, so white gives you the white paper gives you white, and the black ink gives you black, and of course you can. I'm previewing this in my mind here. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Yeah. And then we can come down here and go back up and come down again. Okay. But then, of course, if we start, highlighting this or something, there we go. Yeah. And some people, we're at a very, very basic level in terms of most of these skills. But of course, even when you're at basic level, people are always people, always people will be less developed than you are and more developed. That's always a fact, One fly here is, poor fellow is starving to death, I guess, So anyway, we're trying to develop our ability. And this, of course, is cross-hatching, doing lines one way and then, going out at the other direction. You can find this, of course, and you see this is how texture is added to this line drawing, in this whole area. One person said he would just fill books full of cross-hatching. And as you develop it, of course, you can start doing very, very nice texture. You don't need to have, anything but line drawings. Okay. But you can see what's happening here is that we have a white and black. Okay. So we're especially working on two colors, which are quite easily available, white and black. But what is white? White is the absence of black. Here we go. So when we're working on white paper, which is so common, then we get, you can look at it. Now it's become a white line. So this is the basic point, that there are two colors, white for Germans, white and black, and sometimes red. And so we're using it like that. You see our red pen lasts 4 or 5 times as much. And that's what we like to do. Other people really like to get into colors and so many things like that, but it's just not our nature. So what is your nature? I'm German. I like black and white. And then sometimes red. So you see we're using the red for highlighting. For example, here's today's, we started our today's diary with Tom Brown, Buck White, and Hanumatpresaka Swami. We're all here, all using the same body. Okay. So first off, we have this too. We have, where is it here? The tools. Everybody, I think, you start acquiring odd things to use for your toolbox, and redundancy. Have a few extra, know how to use them, but it's almost like there's no standard toolbox for anything anybody does. This is a nice one we got here. It was in the mail, like something, and it's kind of plasticated. It says, "Welcome to the 50s Club," and they're advertising some kind of box. But we taking it as those people who are chanting 50 rounds a day, and I think I want to join the 50s Club. When you're past 70, you have a right to join the 50s Club. 55 rounds a day, 56, nice. But anyways, perfect size for us. Of course, if you have a table, you can use a T-square, and it's so nice. We've never been able to work that out. So anyway, this goes in here very nicely. If we kind of push it against the bottom, we get a nice flat line. And you see we can draw the S, very easily, and the 3, then afterwards toss in a divider. Then move it down, kind of eyeball it. So this is Saturday, the 3rd, 2022, 09, which is September, like that. And this is a system we use, for all of our categorizing files on the computer. We'll date them 22, 11/03. So that's 2022, 11, November 03, the 3rd day. And then automatically, your computer will automatically sort them by year, and then by month, and then by day. So it's a very, very nice system. It's not so popular, but you see, enough people are using it. Usually that dating system is there for PowerPoint slides and that kind of stuff. 22, so this is 22/09/3 September. And we have then the time, 4:25 a.m., and we were 18 rounds behind 18 rounds. We've fallen behind 18 rounds. This is because the last 5 days we've had pretty robust case of virus. Even now you can tell that. And it was exhausting us. We could barely work. It wasn't, it was painful. It was painful, but pain is just a high-pitched noise or a different kind of noise. And then figuring out how to turn that noise into music. All noise can be turned into music. All colors, all textures are different sounds like that. This is John Cage, a musician. Everything produces sound. So anyway, we're 18 rounds behind. I think now we caught up to the point where we just have today 16 rounds to chant. So we're doing it and having to chant without being able to vocalize. So it's a very nice, good thing. We can keep track of what time is it, what day is it, what time is it, and then how many rounds do you have done. The primary things. And then we had to talk to Maturamani Devidasi. We had a little checkbox here about initiation. And we did that. So now we can use red. Check it off. Okay. And then also one very, very nice book we saw when we were younger was called Capitals for Calligraphy. I think by Edith White. It's still available. Back at our base in Nashville, we have, I think, a copy of it. It's very nice. It's the history of capital letters and how they've been doing. And you can use computers to do so many things, but Carl Jung and our whole culture, when you're writing, it's a whole thing of absorbing your whole body and your heart. So writing is a very, very nice spiritual exercise. So we turn it sideways here. I don't know why. One lady, she said, "Take charge of your paper." Okay, yeah, turn it around, move it, it's your paper. And then we get the right weight we want to put on the pen here. If you're using ballpoint pen, of course, how much weight you use changes the color. You can't do that with a gel pen. It's kind of automatic. But then we can just kind of preview it and stuff and kind of touch it down and make one line. And you should move fast enough so the line becomes smooth. We've tried to develop these skills. We're not very great. But Veer Bahu said, "Oh, you've educated yourself for a long time on this." Well, sometime. And then again, do it again. And what do we have? Yeah. And you start developing, you develop so many skills. It takes time. There's no question about it. My mind is automatically calculating when to stop, the distances, everything else, the angle. So there it is. Now the Saturday have been highlighted. A little more highlighting of the time, like that. And then take the dot here with the thing and put some red ink around it. Yeah. Okay. Black and white and sometimes red. Yeah. But, here's Tom Brown. Oh, hello, Tom. Hello. Yeah. And as you draw these things, I just keep looking. You see so many artists. Some of these people who are tremendous artists. The guy said it's almost impossible for him to see things as just things in his environment. He says everything he sees, his mind automatically starts chalking it down into different proportions, shapes, distances, textures, and cataloging it, until he says he's cataloged in his intelligence. He has that kind of intelligence. Somebody else may not have that kind of physical memory. And so he could just reproduce at a moment gigantic scenes and perspectives and rooms and furniture and buildings and civic scenes and all these things like that. Of course, this is probably not how much are we going to acquire in one lifetime, how much do we want to acquire. It's just part of our eternal service to Krishna we want to develop. Anyway, we'll maybe draw some more monkeys later on, monkey and piggy. And then we love acronyms, so here's monkey waving at us. And then, of course, we have here, you can see the Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. It's the kind of thing that we like, fanatic or not. And then, how do we put the speech bubble? We did the speech bubble with pencil. Okay. So Germans, black and white, and sometimes red. But we Americans, we add gray. And so there it is, very simple, very instruments that are available everywhere. Black ink, white paper, gray for the pencil, and then we got red to highlight. So kind of our main instruments, and then of course soft erasers. You can put a piece of paper over it to protect it, and you can erase very finely. You can get metal eraser guards, which allow you to to erase very, very finely. But a piece of paper, you can do this, nice erasing. And of course, you can also, some other ideas. We have black and white here, And then we can add some red. This is okay. I hit it my head. It may have moved. Yeah. So go along. Now, one principle that we saw several people emphasizing, which is called build your lines. If you're using a bold pen, gel pen, pilot gel pen, then it's probably the right size when you photo reduce it to give you a nice size image. But it's not so easily available in so many things. So we went for the 0.07 millimeter pen rather than the 0.1 millimeter pen. And then almost for sure, you can keep the lines smaller, finer, but so many times you have to build your lines. So it's something I'm learning how to do. When you're drawing on the paper, you're creating grooves and so on. For me, it's too harsh to work with one piece of paper, so I have 3 pieces of paper here. It gives some texture. It's very much the texture. Many artists had a difficult time going from paper drawings to electronic pads because of the lack of texture there, But I think you could also texturize the electronic pads and stuff. And it's very much that the paper adds the texture. And so with the pen, you feel, no? Feel the pen and how it's moving, Again, different textures, Using photocopy paper, which is so common. It's very smooth, very slick, which is not so nice, And of course, if you draw one time, you get a groove, so your pen will tend to go back into that. Well, if you want it or not, and feel yourself coming up to the edge of the groove when you're actually riding on the ridge, coming out. So it's not bad, no? We have like came out nice, Okay. Then we can go ahead and just maybe enhance the borders, Yeah. And you can hear the noise of the pen, and you can produce one Maha Mantra from the noise. Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So you're not drawing, the Maha Mantra is drawing. Yeah. Yeah. It's not bad. Yeah. Free drawing. Satsrup Maharaj talks about free writing. But of course, so many artists say the same thing, this free writing, drawing. Just start drawing anything and see how it develops. Well, we got a line over here we draw. What does that look like? What does that, yeah. What does that look like, you know? Yeah. Yeah. What does it look like? Yeah, okay. How does he fit on here? He fit here? There you go. Okay. Tom Brown and Buck White. Okay. There we are. Okay. Okay, yeah, I agree. It looks like an arrow. How much in the world is made of arrows? Arrows pointing at Krishna. Two sides. And of course you need some feathers. Yeah. Okay. We got a dot. We'll leave a dot for now. Okay, so then even these you have to let the ink dry for a couple moments. That's one big thing. Of course you can, blot it. Let's see if we pick up anything in the red ink, because we're going out pretty heavy. No, it's there. So it should be done. Okay, this is a technique. I think many people know this technique, but you just go ahead and just start, very lightly. You're brushing carbon onto the thing and coming out of the points and stuff. Yeah. And Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then you can just smudge it the direction you want to go. Go ahead and learn how much it smudges. Okay. And there we have yeah. Not bad, yeah. And we can even add a little more red here. Yeah. And that's it, no? Classical Greek education included drama. There was writing dramas, performing dramas, and criticizing dramas. Yeah. Our whole yoga is Gandharva Veda, singing, dancing, and drama. So it has to be there. That first off, you have your preparation work. Then you have your actual production work, and afterwards criticizing. But while you're doing it, while you're actually performing, already the criticism should be there. All three things are actually happening in the same phase like that. Yeah. And so just looking at what you're doing, like I'm doing now, automatically my mind is, wanting to put in some more textures and stuff. Whenever you can find somebody like drawing and talking about what they're doing, it's so nice, the psychological level. And we'll get into it now, but it's just incredible artists and people, and it's almost all of them on the Paramatma level. If there is some kind of I teach my hands how to do it. It's not the hands learning, but the hands are connected, of course, to the mind and everything else. And then after a while, these very, very advanced artists, they'll tell you they don't even think about composition so much more, but they're focusing on the theme. That here's a very old dwarf king with his big war hammer sitting down next to his war boar. And he wanted to bring out the relationship of this animal and his master, and having fought together for so many years and so on, And so then you start to get to the level of the actual bhava, the actual perspective, the attitude, and so on. And then something very nice can come through, something from another world. And which world is that? Is it the world of Vaikuntha with Lila avatars like Lord Nrsingadev? Or is it the world of Lord Nrsingadev trying to stick his nose into Goloka? Yeah. Don't overdraw. And of course, everybody knows that one. This at certain points, got to finish. One French poet said, nobody ever finished a poem. They just stopped working on it. Nobody ever finished a poem. They just stopped working on it. Same way. So it's very nice. And of course, it means getting in touch with, your appreciation of Krishna as the super soul, whatever. So anyway, we got this on a white paper here now. We got the border, and we talk a little bit about different kinds of things that have been fun for us. Of course, we have a small box here. The whole other video has to be our traveling creature, our paraphernalia. Of course, the basic paraphernalia we have is the Maha Mantra. Yeah, travel always with the Maha Mantra. Then the Maha Mantra can expand into books, and the books can expand into different paraphernalia. But this is a small box we got, In hiking, they call it a ditty box or something. But this is very, very nice. We like this one, very nice. It's a Ziploc box, and we found it, Smaller, it's lighter, it's tough enough. But the thing about this is that it's quite tight. It may even be ant-proof, which is an important thing. You can put stuff in to keep the ants out. But it's freezer. You can put it in a freezer, and it won't crack up. And also, you can use it for microwaving. So I have a recipe for basic muffins. Muffins, two parts flour, 2 parts whatever. So you fill the whole thing up, put it in the microwave, push the button, and you have a cake, right? You've cooked a cake there. Other people are standing around to get part of your cake. Yeah, so very nice. You can come out with a cake, and you can put different things inside your cake. Yeah, like that. So we're very nice. It's like traveling, our small parts box, very essential part of life. And of course, our things fits into it here. Tom Brown, Buck White fit in. And of course, this is very much our things here. We have some paper clips. We got more pencils, pencil lead. We have a mechanical pencil, and a small pencil sharpener. So a few things like that. If you got more space, you got a carry-on bag besides just our personal item, or traveling with a bag. This is a whole other one about traveling, wandering miscreants. Usually we say wandering mendicants, and topmost swan-like devotee and wandering mendicant. But again, Piggy said that actually monkeys should be called topmost wandering miscreant. And monkeys comment that Piggy should be called topmost swine-like devotee. So topmost swine-like devotees and wandering miscreants. And here they are again. Hello. Hello. I guess Piggy's the body. You should go here on the body, and then monkeys are more like the mind. Okay, so we got here. Down there. Yes. Okay. He says get back to work. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, what time is it here? Time is the external manifestation of the Paramatma. Lord Kapila Dev told Devahuti, what is time? Whole different big lecture and discussion. But external manifestation of the Paramatma. Okay. So this little W we started out with here is just begging for what? There's someone behind the camera there. Huh?
Begging for mercy.
No, it's begging for a border. Yeah, that's our job. Krishna is the actor, Krishna is the painting, and we in Radharani are the picture frame, we're the art gallery. Yeah, Prabhupada says in the Raslila that Krishna without his potencies is not very attractive. But when he's surrounded by his potencies, especially his pleasure potencies, very beautiful. So that's our job. There's so many nice stories about that, but that's the basic principle. So we started off with illustrating that white is the absence of black. And then we have white here. We can use white for drawing, but what it is in this case is actually, eliminating, not covering it. So it's the whole thing, And then we show gray. So here, what do we want here? A square. Okay, thank you. What do we want? Yeah. A square. Okay, no. A circle. Okay. A square. A circle. Okay, we'll go anyway. Monkey's the guy in charge here. So what kind of square? Well, we got gray on the inside, we got black and red. So in principles of design, there's a thing about rhythm, echo. So probably the gray on the inside, we want to echo it then, and your mind will pick it up that way. So we again get the angle we want. Straight lines are unnatural. You pivot from your elbow. This is very natural, very automatic. You can pivot from your wrist, and you can pivot from your fingers. And so these are all natural lines. Curved lines are natural. So line it up here and go over it a few times, and then finally just hit it for effect. See how long you want it. And then touching. There we go. Okay. Hare Krishna. In my mind, I'm figuring out how long, when to stop. Hare Krishna. Pretty good. I hesitated a bit here. And it's pretty good. Let's get our eraser out here. This is part of a full-size eraser, but the crumbs are also very good. Yeah. And then build your line. Now here, what you're drawing now is not a line. You're drawing a space. So you become conscious of that. What I'm trying to do is watch the space I'm making. Don't go too slow. I went a little slow there. And also sometimes you hit something on the page which causes a mark like that, And of course, I don't know, I guess all the artists, you see everything. You see all the mistakes. But then actually the people watching it don't see all the mistakes. Okay. So it's highlighting a little bit. And maybe I'll consider other things. So there it is. W. It's not a Vedic letter. Okay. So the other point is borders. The page automatically forms a border, but then to highlight it and stuff. What are borders for? Borders are fences to keep things in, but also they are boundaries and stuff to attract other things. So the borders you're making are to illustrate, highlight what's within, but also to draw certain influences into the art itself too. So I want to do a border over here. Wear paper around. Monkey piggy sit over there. And, again, we have, you can already, Gunnar Lind, you can already just go right along with the border. It's already there with one finger and use that to guide your pen. And so what I'm thinking is, okay, let's do a border which is prominent on this side and automatically create some distance that size. And also we can divide the page up beside the borders. We can also do we can fold it in half. Let's do that. I guess this will show up here. With my finger here, I'm feeling it, Touch is many times subtler than vision in many ways. And so drawing is actually a very tactile experience, not just visual. How much do you want to crease it? Maybe not too much because I want to open it up flat. And how long is it going to be? So we get the paper up here, maybe just give it a little bit of a mark. And of course it's easy to fold it over. And again, feel it. Okay. So now we automatically have our measure. We don't have to use a ruler. I don't like measuring things and duplicating it. Like this is much more Pythagorean. So now we know this piece of paper here again is more or less 11 by 7, 9 by 16. 6 by 16 by 9, proportions, space, So then doing a border, okay? So when it's heavier on this side, of course, that will generate a motion to it. Start with pen? Yeah, let's start with pen, okay? Now what I'm doing is I'm automatically going in a little bit more than I want to do because I want to draw a second line. So you got to plan ahead, think ahead, and okay. Is the paper gonna buckle up under me? No, it looks like it's not. Is there something underneath it to block it? No. Okay. So I got a guide by running my finger along the other edge here. I'm always thinking that for some people this is going to be absurdly basic. Other people it's going to be new. So we kind of hit it and then come on down here, try to feel the edge. And do it again. And this time, let's try and go close. And you're drawing the space, not the the line. Okay, it went a little wobbly there. And I went a little bit over because you can't get an exact line. Yeah, okay. Then let's start down here. What I have here is actually, we travel with this in our carry-on bag, our, what do you call it, personal item. This is nice. It's a clipboard, and again, I see other people glorifying them. Of course, this is a bigger one. We have a small one with a bulldog clip and so on. But this is very nice. It has this transparent. You can buy them many places. I have it for years. And because it's transparent, you can use it for a lot of stuff. Because this is not really thick enough to get a guidance here. So put it in. Use it to become an extra hand for gripping. And then just kind of feel it to match it up square. Okay. And then, of course, now we got some more, something here to guide our finger better. Yeah. And where's it going to go? Are your muscles going to get tight? Where do you want to finish? Do you want to? Here's already our line here. So we'll stop. We'll start before that, and we'll try and stop right on this line here. Which will give us something sticking up. Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. Maybe you want to stick up down here too. So we'll do this. Maybe do this. This first. Okay. And I can even bounce a little bit because it's not going to be smooth. I'm going to be coming off the paper here. Okay, yeah, okay. So then we come up here a little spacing, yeah. Bouncing a little bit, yeah. Yeah. Okay, now we're going over to our edges on both sides. Okay, yeah. Symmetry. I've heard Prabhupada said that symmetry is the essence of beauty. Same thing, echoing. And Gunnar Lind, again, he told us that anything you do, like a notch, you make a notch. He said if you make... So I guess also to American people can be different than European people, can be different Indians. But the audience he was dealing with, he says, your mind goes 1 notch, 2 notches, 3 many. You can only really, mind get naturally only sees like, you see 1, okay, there's 1. You see 2, there's 2, it's a dual. And then triplet, after that it's just, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's just many, So here we have the double. Now we're going to go down here, and maybe we'll stay inside. Okay. Paper's trying to bunch a little bit. I'm pushing it down. Okay. And there we go. Yeah. It's not quite smooth, but that's, yeah. And here we got the ink kind of spreading out a little bit. Whatever happens, we try and use it. Yeah. And here again, Yeah. If there's a blockage in the thing, just push gently until you could go past the block without creating any abrupt jump, unless you want to, like my fingernail was catching. So very slowly pushed it until it became soft and it moved smoothly. And again, fingernails kind of heavy and move it until it becomes soft, and then go ahead. Yeah. Let's build the line. Now it's not writing here, which is probably because I probably got some oil from my hand on it. So you see, our artists many times will actually be using, gloves with holes for the fingers. Other way to do it, I think, is to keep rubbing your hands on your cloth and stuff. Anyway, this looks pretty gross, like that. Yeah. Whitefield. He was Bertram Russell's, doctoral teacher, and he was a very theistic person. Bertram Russell, pretty much very atheistic. Alfred North Whitehead. See, if you talk around something, then you'll catch one part of it, and the memory will come back. Memories are stored as holograms. You haven't got to remember each thing in order. Just kind of grab part of it, and the rest will show up. Maybe your memory is different than ours. Yeah. So he said that there is no inevitability as long as there is a willingness to contemplate the present. So he accepted there was an eternal reality. It's never destruction, immortality, Brahman, Sat. Then after that, next realization, purification is Chit. So his idea was that you contemplate. Well, what is that? Okay, that's very nice thing. People learned how to do this. It's a whole other discussion. What is meditation? What is contemplation? Okay. So anyway, and of course, it reflects it in your art and you're creating your diaries or whatever you're trying to do, your red book. There is no inevitability as long as there is a willingness to contemplate the present. You know? So that means by contemplation, by Brahman, aware of what is existing, then structure, form, reality, nature starts to appear. Chit, it's eternal and it has certain nature to it. Yeah. And like, for example, this is kind of rough here, and then you contemplate, well, maybe it's just part of a tree or something the same way. We can start to let it become a natural existence. Many times you see people using cement, for construction, and it's terrible. This is a horrible thing, this plain cement, gray in colors, and it's terrible. But when we were in Mendoza, we gave a series of lectures on sound, the relationship of sound in our architectural design. And it was a lot of challenges, but some things were very good. And the School of Architecture there was actually quite amazing. It was actually very good looking. Sri Dayananda Maharaj said, go to any campus and look for the School of Industrial Design. It will be the most ugly building an impractical building on the campus. And I've seen that. Berkeley is just horrible. The elevators don't go to the right places. So many terrible things. When people consciously try and use their design principles, which may be coming from Bauhaus, hold on, what's the guy? I forgot the guy's name. From Bauhaus to Our House. It's a good book on the history of bad architecture, bad design, bad vastu, bad ways of trying to glorify Krishna. But this one actually was good. Some other I escaped from these things, and they'd use the cement with a very, very conscious plan that it would discolor, it would produce different colors and textures. And then when they were forming the outside, they weren't trying to form just squares and lines from cement, but they used like the boards they used to hold it up while they were pouring it. They let them have textures of boards and stuff. So it was very, very nice. It was attractive, Yeah, made you actually wish people would do more work in cement. Yeah. So not only just the wall, but how does the wall fit into the surrounding trees and plants and these kind of things? For example, here we've made a line at the bottom, and we were able to stop very nicely on the box W. And already we're having something happening here. It's like, what is this W? W. It doesn't exist in the Sanskrit language because we can't do much with it. Watusi, like that. So anyway, okay, we're working here. What is it today? We already started we have our thing going here. Today is Saturday the 3rd, okay? Which, by the way, puts me in a certain mentality. Time is calendars. This is all mode of passion. So in our background, we're keeping together the work we have to do, the scheduling we have to do, how many days we have left, And we're packing up. We'll be leaving on the 11th, And you begin to figure out how much you can do in a certain time, how much you can do with your team, how much your team can do using you, Achinta beta beta tatma. 100% you've got to develop your own skills, abilities. 100%, you and Krishna, by the mercy of Prabhupada. And simultaneously, you've got to realize that you have to be a part of a team. You have to surrender, to that. So Chinta Beta Beta Tatma. So the timing, I think we're on timing, scheduling here. And this may be all we're going to be able to do in terms of actually talking about design and art. And that's okay. We have other ideas and suggestions, and I'm sure many of them people would like them and find them and say, that's nice, that's interesting. Again, the notebooks in general, if you go through them, you always find some principles. And a lot of other what you find is just a general perspective. Okay, he's keeping track of the things he's doing. What's most important for him is getting his rounds done. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. First thing is always chant Hare Krishna, and if you can't do that, or how are you going to do that? We'll chant 16 nice rounds a day, enthusiastic rounds a day. The next thing, follow the 4 principles strictly. Even if you can't follow the 4 principles strictly, go on chanting Hare Krishna. And then after that, full morning service. Prabhupada calls it service, full morning service. which is chanting Hare Krishna, a very concentrated program, and developing how to, make that creative and personal. After so many years, we're seeing the result is so intense. Maybe also our body's getting more mature. We're having such penetration. Last few days, we haven't been able to chant and, follow the program with the devotees and stuff. And it's nice. It's a challenge, because we're having to learn how to chant in all circumstances. The time of death, you won't have your godbrothers or god sisters. You won't have your temple. So many things won't be there. Okay, we'll know how to do it. And then we can go through 9 months in the womb and developing skills, abilities, and then come back and we can find our own movies, our own books, and say, oh, I like that. That's interesting. That seems like familiar, and get back to work. So anyway, contemplating this thing here, the lines seem a little bit sketchy. It's very hard to build these kind of lines, without making a mess. I don't know how to do it yet. I'm learning some things and how to make the borders. Krishna Kshetra saw some of our work and liked it, especially when we started squiggling up the corners here, And at least one common phrase is that the devil is in the details, and the other people say that God is in the details. So looking at the details, like see over here, the vertical line kind of meets the one, and the ink comes out at the end a lot. And so, these things they're there, but you look at them for a while, they're no longer problems. They become solutions and stuff, So I don't want to get into it now because we'll mess it up. But if we're going to bring this down to a certain time and date, what I would do, I would again block my greasy skin off the paper, put this up at the right level here, look at it a little bit. And today is September, which is 9, and is what today? Today is the 3rd, okay? So we just state this then so we can tell when it was, where it was, and put them in order. 22, 09, 03. And of course, it's the whole thing. You maybe notice of drawing letters. You got to practice your kinds of letters. And maybe you have just a few different kinds of letters, And also we learned Brigu Das. He taught us this. You keep some paper under here. Then whatever you draw, it gives a base for it. Alfonso Dunn talks about that. He says, grounding your work to the paper with some kind of horizontal or vertical lines. Otherwise, it floats around. So here we have H, A, R, E. Okay, pretty good. Took a lot of work. Hare Krishna. Okay. And afterwards, going ahead here like that. It's already 11:49. So now we're going to turn to our off-scene director. Should we go on? Okay. Our words to make. And then a little red just to highlight this. Okay. That's good. Okay. Page is transcendental. That's enough, maybe. So, and making little check boxes for things to do, transferring the diaries to our red book, which is this is a whole thing about information management technology, which is a whole other different thing. We settled on these, which are nice. These are these things. I think you also have them here. You can just punch the paper and put it in. It's better than the ring binders, doesn't take up so much space. And you can open these things and close them many times, So if you do it every 2 weeks, then no problem. You've got a lot of time there. This is the fortnight diary of a traveling creature. It started August 22nd. It's Anjana Sudha Academy, jayarama.us, Monkey and Piggy, Tom Brown, Buck White. Preface, which of course go later. Start off with Monday. And God is in the details. Compose principles. God is in the details. Compose principles. So there are principles, but you've got to compose those principles. And then God is in the details. So as a principle, we divided it into the spacing we got here, which is nice. And then we got 16 by 9 ratio. Then we put a border in, which we could have maybe a little bit tighter, but even still, it's whatever it is. It's like living in the forest. If you go in the forest is not rectilinear. we're very conditioned to Euclidean space. We've been discussing that more and more. It's a very nice area for considering how Euclid's principles have fit into our culture and what is logic and so many other things. We've discussed this, you know. And interesting too, we had very, very nice discussion with Claudia and Hector Behar and people here. It's starting to happen. You've only had one colloquia so far, but it was so productive, you know. Now they've all gone off to the Prado to see the great Velázquez, Goya, the great masters in the Prado. But you're here with us looking at the great master, Tom Brown and Buck White. Yeah. You can tell a good artist usually because they're greedy to get techniques and inspiration from anybody. You know, that's what you find that some of the greatest writers in the world just read. And anytime another writer, you know, writes something about how they write, they'll just devour these things. You know, Zane Grey, one of the greatest writers in the history of the world, he said he would just devour other people's books and how they were writing. You have to be absorbed in it all the time. It's a matter not of just of knowing, but of just living it, whatever you're going to do. If you're going to be doing music, living music and stuff. You know. And of course, our life is a combination. You know, Prabhupada says, sometimes I play the mridanga, sometimes I play the harmonium, sometimes I cook for Krishna, sometimes I go out shopping, other times I go out for Sankirtan. He said, this way I combine these things to be always engaged, and then always engaged intensely, you know. So I think one nice thing, of course, here is to go ahead and just show a little bit about Tom Brown and Buck White. I'm trying to keep my oil off the page. Sometimes the pens, I understand what the shelf life of these things is. But of course, we always start with just two eyes. And you're kind of thinking, what's the proportion? What do you want here? And then at monkey's nose and monkey's smile, eyebrows, you know, ear, yeah. And all these things really matter. You just develop them. You do without thinking. Chin's a certain way. Okay. But the thing is, if you just take the eyes, the nose, now this time let's put the mouth down and put the eyebrows pointed in. Yeah, just that, huh? The eyebrows and the mouth. It changes, you know. Yeah. I have a hard time drawing open mouths. Yeah. But right away I made the eyebrows wider, more separated. Yeah. And it makes it more curious. Yeah. Make them flat. Yeah. So that's a very important point. It's the basic character. Many times just the eyebrows and the mouth. The eyebrows and the mouth. Point them in together, they become angry, put it down, put it up. Okay. Then of course pig. Pig is same thing. Yeah. We just put a snout around his nose. Want an angry pig? No, happy pig. Okay. Maybe move them up a little bit. And you begin to feel. In the ears, where do they go? You can get used to it. You got to watch. Okay. You got his head. Yeah. Okay. Now that we can highlight this ear here, you know, see it gives a little bit of depth to it. Which way is this light coming from? Yeah. And then around his face. And practice this a lot. Give him shoulders. Give him suspenders. Yeah. And it's practice. And you develop your storehouse of figures, animals. So I do monkey and piggy a lot. You know, they come out. But then one also know one very nice one is a swan. It's very natural. It flows back, and you know you get the contours are very natural in terms of the moving around inside the body. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Swan with a government-approved family of 2 children. There we go. Yeah. And I guess we can turn them sideways here. It's a very nice form. You know. It goes up, and we got eyes and a beak. Yeah. Legs. Yeah. And you got a peacock. Yeah. How many forms do you need? Well, I don't know. Wish I could draw more. You know. But again, our idea is not drawing details, it's looking for the essence, like the peacock feathers have these dots on them, you know, and the legs are like this, you know. See, I'm starting from behind the body so I don't touch it, and it goes down here, and it goes behind. So you draw it, but you don't touch it. You know, drawing behind, come down, touch, yeah. And then filling in the details. God is in the details. Okay, yeah. And then again, you can, you know, dimple, you know, again, adding some texture. And when it's photo reduced, looks a lot better. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, not bad. Peacocks, swans, monkeys, piggies, yeah. I got a mouse we can do. It kind of shows up. But you don't need a lot of people, you know. And of course, the speech bubbles. I usually just draw the words first, you know. See how much space it's going to take. And then, of course, contrasting. You got the words in the picture in black. So make the speech bubble and just start off here, bring it down, stop, and bring it back up and stop. Come around, catch this. And almost always you can catch it exactly. Catch the second one. Then fill in the third one. Yeah. And so much you can put in some more proportions. Yeah, just start to feel it. Now over this side here, it should be a little thicker. You feel that? So you can add a little weight to this line. Yeah. And that's kind of it. Everything else seems to be about the right weight. Maybe a little more here. Yeah. I made a mistake. One really good artist is a Korean guy. I mean, this guy's a genius, you know, whatever, you know, just lifetimes. He's drawing away, filling the entire page full of stuff and talking. And he said, I've already made 5 mistakes. You noticed them? You know, and he said, it's always happened to me. I'm an artist, for one of the greatest in the world. He said, I make so many mistakes, you know. But he said, so many times you can look at it and see how the mistake, it can just be something else like that and so on. You know? Yeah. So, yeah, figure drawing people, you know, criticizing your work, visualizing it before you do it, you know, what it's going to look like, you know. Yeah. Shading and stuff, I still can't get working on it, you know, but how much do you want to do? Okay. So here we have Monkey and Piggy in Vrindavan. Down. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Figure drawing, the content, bullet points. We already showed how to make the bullet points. So I think that's about all what we're doing now with these diary process. And of course, using it, we start on Ekadasi. We try and finish off the previous one. Maybe someone wants to scan them like that. We're wondering why. And nobody's requesting them so much, and so we're not really distributing them so much, you know. But if people are requesting them, we maybe can scan them. It's nice to be able to scan them on a bed scanner automatically, because you auto feed, because you go right into JPEG files, and you can cut them and manipulate them electronically, you know. So scanning, sorting, yeah. And how do they fit into your life? That's the whole point. We're saying before, just writing stuff down makes your mind solidify on it, and that's enough in itself many times. Maybe your whole life, you never read anything, but just the fact of being able to write it down, you know. Then the other thing is, of course, going back through and reading and picking out things which are just technically important. Oh, that's a calendar date. That's something that needs to be done. Yeah. I forgot his name. One very, very big, Stephen King, I think. Very, very famous, writer, big famous guy. But he would have a steno pad, by him. And he was doing his writing work, and the steno pad always, ideas were coming. Prabhupada says, money is flying everywhere. You have to learn the art of catching it. Okay. So ideas are flying everywhere. You have to learn the art of catching them. And after you catch them, you got to sort them out and put them into practical things for other people. We also had a project which is probably won't get going, but was called what's it called? Anjana Sudha Academy Encyclopedia. Brown's view of everything. The Brown view of everything, Tom Brown. Because so many ideas come, and some of them, seem quite useful, and people comment, thank you, so good. But how they distort them. So encyclopedia, you can put them by alphabetical order, you can get put things in order, and so on. As we understand Bhaktisiddhanta, everything he ever read, he could remember. His memory was so big, celibate life, fine nervous system. And so you go through, and actually you can do this, move the matter around, create different links between different memories and associations. And so he was sorting out his entire library and encyclopedic stuff so it was available in the proper times and everything else like that. What is our service? So one very nice thing to do, okay, because this is Vrindavan Dham, is, I don't know if Prabhupada mentions it, but it's the fact that people write the Maha Mantra or things like that in books and fill up entire books with these and maybe just keep them. Or else, when there's a fire sacrifice for Janmashtami, you can put them right into the fire and make them offerings to Krishna. So we kind of develop this where we can write the Maha Mantra as fast as we can chant. We'll do it here. Okay, we got Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, / Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 1. So you can see what we're doing, of course. Hare Krishna, we do 2 vertical lines and 2 split lines. Hare Krishna. And here we have Krishna Krishna. K is pointing one direction, K is pointing other direction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay. And Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And there's so many nerves in the fingers, in the mouth. So japa, or drawing and designing, are a very, very natural stimulation for the cerebral cortex. The body can become absorbed in following the mind's motions. So for us, sometimes, for example, sitting in a class, we can't focus on chanting along with the class, but by just like this, with our mind, because many times the speaker, just naturally, you cannot talk as fast as you can think. So many times our mind is going much faster, and it's very difficult to keep it focusing on the verbal presentation. So if you can then get Maha Mantra going, then the Maha Mantra will wrap itself around the presentation, and if the presentation is 60% bunk, and the Maha Mantra is 100% pure, then you can eliminate the extra stuff and pull out the 40%. Now, if anybody who's giving a lecture which is 60% valuable, he's a great personality, he's a genius. When he comments like this, even if 60% of your thoughts are useful, you're going to become chief executive officer and president of Yale University, and so on. So we got 1 Maha Mantra. Let's do 5. Okay. I'm chanting to myself softly. Prabhupada says the tongue and jaw should move. So that way you can move it, some air going. There's a whole separate different action of japa, which I think is the most important consolidation we have. Hare Krishna. Our throat hurts, so just chatting like this is so pleasant, and it keeps us engaged. Jayananda used to say he would go out selling incense for Spiritual Sky and traveling from California to Nevada, maybe be gone for 2 weeks, and distribute, make booking orders for so much of the Spiritual Sky products, and come back, and then the temple have nice income. And he said he could go out and maybe for like 3 hours, he could keep his mind under control by chanting loudly and everything else. And after that, then it was a real struggle, So this is one way. So many ways of doing this, and it's all you have to do. Jayananda's point also, you don't have to be doing the greatest service. Just start off doing any service. You see some Prabhupada says the material world is always dirty. Find something to clean. Look around. Suggest something. Clean something. And immediately you'll become more Krishna conscious. And then automatically, Vidya Badu Jivanam, you'll get more and more ideas. And so your service will become more relevant. You'll become more intense, like that. And so starting off, just writing the Maha Mantra. I think we have some here somewhere. Yeah, here's one. Yeah. It's nice. God is in the details. Compose principles. So what are the principles of design? You can look that up. Well, compose those. And the details are there. You see how our swans are fastened to the page by horizontal lines to keep it down. This one, the swan is thinking the Maha Mantra here. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. And you got Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Yeah. So you draw two horizontal. Let's see, how our guy here talking it, Yeah, this one. Angry mantra. Two horizontal vertical lines, part different. You can start with our R, come around, go up, stop at the right point, make your vertical thing on the top. Bring this down here. There it is. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. And he can be thinking this. Okay. There we go. This guy is happy, chanting Gora. This guy is, maybe he wants to kill the demons. Yeah. Of course, putting tops on these. Yeah. So it's all kind of comes to my mind right now. We got our nice W sign, which you still haven't figured out what it stands for. Yeah. And some of the some japa for Vrindavan Dham. How much of Vrindavan Dham is composed of japa? Are the grains of sand chanting japa? Are the flowers and trees, their fragrances of japa? Okay, yeah. Japa means, Prabhupada says, slow, private chanting. Kirtan means personal chanting, out loud, and Sankirtan means out loud with many people. So many ways to remembering how to glorify Krishna. Yeah. So let's do some more mantra here. Ideas come. Jayananda told us one time we were sitting in the Rath Yatra construction yard, which was, I think it had been a former gas station someplace in kind of a bad part of San Francisco, so they let us use it for free. And around the case were all kinds of like barber shops and different places, and people always somebody intoxicated on something. Somebody standing out front of their door with some, beer or whiskey, and somebody else going down smoking marijuana with a friend. It was just a really kind of tough area, surrounded by a chain link fence. And so Jayananda would come out there and work with us and, get materials and supplies and keep other things going, running around, keeping the whole Rath Yatra going, and giving us little classes. And one time, I always remember this, he told us, so I heard this from Jayananda's lips, now you're hearing it from my lips, that Prabhupada said, as long as you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're making progress. Okay. And of course, you can increase that by chanting Hare Krishna, with following the four principles and so on. But it's just it. It's just as long as you're chanting, writing the Maha Mantra, you're making progress. And what should I do next? That will automatically come. You haven't got to try and figure it out by mental speculation. So now I'm just drawing the Maha Mantra here. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I begin to realize I probably should stop now so I don't destroy my voice for 6 days. Number 6. Do 10. Okay, we'll do 10. Yeah. if my face is kind of a serious look on it, then my mind tries to become serious. Like that. So our mind is following our face. Yeah. Okay. My face acts a certain way because it's tired or whatever. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarva saha ahankara vimuratma kartaha miti manyate. Very nice verse in psychology. Yeah. Okay.